It's time to go beyond happy and to live joy fully. This is Lessons in Joyful Living with host Kimberly Rinaldi here on the Rockstar Radio Network. Having created a highly successful coaching practice, now Kim teaches lessons in joyful living. She believes in empowering others and that through it, you have the ability to break through any and all barriers. What used to take weeks, months, or even years, she can now show you in a matter of hours with her programs. Kimberly can help you achieve your highest potential and move toward your soul purpose. And she provides you with tools that you can carry with you for a lifetime. This is Lessons in Joyful Living on the Rockstar Radio Network. And now, here's your host, Kimberly Rinaldi.
Good morning and welcome, and thank you for joining us this morning. It is Tuesday, January 28th. I actually had to look at a calendar for that. And it's a gorgeous morning in Southern California, and we are getting close to wrapping up the end of January. I remember when I was younger, somebody told me as you get older, time just doesn't have the same weight it used to. Things seem to go much quicker. And I can attest to that as I am in my late 40s. I'm 47. I'm very, very transparent about my age, although I've been telling people I'm going to be 50 for the last 5 years, and only to get the response, "Oh my God, you look great." Well, yeah, I've been saying that since I was 45, so as soon as I turn 50, I'm going to start saying I'm going to be 60, so people go, "Oh my God, you look great." But that is my master plan, is to always have something hidden in the background. But, time just doesn't have the same value as it did when I was younger. I was talking yesterday about the fact that over Sunday night when we were working on some alarm things in our house, upgrading some equipment, we realized we've been in the house 18 years, and the floor in the entry closet that we had insisted on having refinished, because when we bought the house, the floors had been refinished, but they left those two closets undone. Things got moved in. We covered the floors. We hadn't really looked at them until this weekend, and lo and behold, we still hadn't done them. It becomes an issue of priorities take over. And when you're caught living your life, sometimes those priorities are out of your hands. And one of the things as a coach that I really try and impart to my clients, my students, and even you, our listeners, is you have to learn how to own it. And by owning it, what I mean is you can't go around being at effect for everything. You have to learn how to be a cause, and that's owning it. And when you own it, you can change it. And you have to, it isn't that those 18 years got away from us. It's that we made other decisions that put the priority outside of fixing the floor in the hall closet, because really nobody ever sees it. But, there are tools. And some of those tools are coaching, and some of those tools are behavioral therapies, and some of those tools, if you drill down into them, are things like EFT and neuro-linguistic programming and hypnotherapy. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, is tools, things that you can do to change the state of your state, how you can find your purpose, how you can get help when you need it. And that brings us to today's guest. Good morning and welcome to the show, Miss Candace Conradi.
Hi.
I'm on.
I take it.
Yes, you're on. I brought you on early. Let's start off with, you are an author and a coach, and you speak to a lot of the things that I was discussing just a few seconds ago. How did you come to the understanding that you had to take charge and make change, even in your own life?
I actually started this whole journey about 4 years ago, but it was only through a process of healing and breaking down the things that I had learned that contributed to my life not quite being the way I wanted it to be, that I started examining ways to really have more mastery over my life. And it's certainly been a journey. I can't say that it was an overnight success at all. But it was really important to me on a very subliminal level, I think. Even while I was conscious of it, I think it was even driven by a deeper sense of myself that I wanted to have more mastery over my life, and I wanted to have more influence over the events and how I showed up in the events and the kind of influence I had as a mother. I was a mother at 19, so I've had 4 children and now have 4 grandchildren. And of course, my influence and my example is so important to me because it's part of my legacy. So it's been an ongoing process for me for a very long time.
And that was, I mean, I have 3 of your books that I've read, and that was the string that ties them all together, if you will. They're very different directions, but it is about mastery. It is about ownership. It is about taking charge, even in some of the tougher situations in life. And you're not a little cork or a little ducky bobbing around on the water. You actually have some direction. So what was it? I know you said it was a healing path. What was it that you worked through?
Well, I had challenges in my early life, which I think a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm.
I had a period of time in my early childhood that was very, very difficult, and it affected me for a very long time. You know, there was a lot of secrets that I didn't want to tell anybody about, and you know, there was a lot of shame that came with some of the events in my life that I really had no control over as a child, right?
Right.
So that was a really big, I think that was a big incentive for me to uncover that and figure that out, because it's really hard to live a life where you're constantly suppressing yourself or your thoughts or your feelings about things. So that was really, really important to me to heal that, and that just took me deeper and deeper and deeper into examining not just my life, but how we all live. And, you know, I love what you were saying about age. It made me giggle. I don't know if you could hear me or not.
I did, and it's okay. You know what? Half the stuff that comes out of my mouth, people are like, "Oh my God!" So we're good.
Well, it's just so funny because I just turned 60, and I love telling people that because they look at me and go, "No way! There's no way you're 60," you know. So it's always fun to get to that kind of feedback. But I do.
Well, yeah. Now start telling people you're going to be 65, because it does set you up for a longer life. That's my belief. Number one, you're putting that energy out there, and then they're going to look at you and go, "What have you done? What is your secret?" Well, I'm 60. That's my secret.
I know. I made it, right? But I think that, you know, you get to live through these life experiences, and then you get to have that 20/20 hindsight. And so,
right.
You know, I've taken everything that has happened to me, and I did use EFT and tapping to help dislodge a lot of the energy that was trapped, I think, at a very cellular level for me. And once I was able to have more compassion for myself, it really deepened my work. And so I think it's a really big piece to everything. I hope I answered your question.
No, you did. And I want to, as sort of a deeper follow-up to it, and I know we've got a few minutes before we go into our first break, but you mentioned secrets, and I'm not going to ask you, I only ask you to share what you're comfortable sharing, but you mentioned secrets. Did you not find that the harder you held on to the secrets, the farther you got away from who you truly were?
Oh, absolutely, because I was letting them define me.
Yeah.
And when they start defining who you are, it limits your ability to freely step into your life with confidence and a sense of value that gets lost in the secret. You know, we keep secrets because we don't feel worthy of being, you know, forgiven or understood or loved, or, you know, all the really deep things that come with working with the issues that are kind of spinning around underneath.
Right. I know that for myself, I do a lot of public speaking and programs and classes, as well as working with clients privately. And it wasn't until about 10 years ago, and it wasn't that I was keeping secrets. I'd already worked through probably 95% of my nonsense from growing up. But I just didn't feel it was relevant. That was then. This is now. I'm healed. I don't choose to share it just because I don't want to put people in that position of having to maybe address their own inner demons. And then somebody told me, seriously, I was, talking about Lessons in Joyful Living. Joy is a choice. It's a choice that can be made in any situation, and that truly every experience is neutral until you place a value on it. And as you learned with the EFT, you can go back and revalue these things and change them. I remember at one point I was talking to my husband because somebody said, well, that's easy for you. You must have had a very easy life. And I went, what? No. And I started sharing my husband, and I remember my husband's, he didn't want me to become vulnerable. He didn't want, me to put myself in a place where somebody might judge me. And I said, you know what? That was the worst judgment that anybody could have ever had, was that this came easy. And that I didn't know from where I was speaking. So about 10 years ago is when I started making the decision to, share for the purpose of explaining, if I can stand in this place, anybody can.
Right.
So, and in doing that, I found myself much closer to who I was supposed to be, and the last bits of healing started really just kicking in. So that's the beauty of it. If you know that there's something that you're keeping a secret, I'm not saying go out and share it with the world, but what I am saying is find a way to heal it, find a way to own it. And it isn't about blame, it isn't about culpability, it's about healing.
I find I get that a lot, Kimberly, because they look at, people will look at my accomplishments in my books and stuff and have some of that same judgment. It's very interesting that we think because someone succeeds that they had advantage.
Right.
And I'm a really big fan of Malcolm Gladwell, and his new book, David and Goliath, really addresses that issue beautifully.
Yeah. We have a few seconds. We're going into break. When we come back, I definitely want to finish this conversation. But for those of you who haven't already joined me, go to KimberlyRinaldi.com, sign up for my VIP newsletter, get a copy of my Deeper Meditation MP3. It's a great tool to help you start your meditative practice. And it might be a wonderful tool to help you heal. Meanwhile, join us back after the break. We're speaking with Candace Conradi, author, coach, and someone who has found what healing is about for her. Come back. Join us in a few minutes.
Having overcome tremendous obstacles herself, she believes happiness is overrated. She calls upon you to live joyfully. This is Lessons in Joyful Living, and Kimberly will be right back after these on the Rockstar Radio Network. Get ready for Wise Up Radio, leveraging your learning, leadership, and legacy with Donna Kimbrand, the Edgy Evolutionary, Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, here on the Rockstar Radio Network. If you're an entrepreneurial leader or visionary, stay ahead of your game with insights, tools, and strategies that give you the thought leader's edge. Each week, join Donna and her guests as she'll ask the edgy questions, help you discover game-changing shortcuts to better thinking and learning, how to explore the ripple effects of leadership excellence, and how to create your life as a living legacy, where the legacy you leave is the life you live. As thought leaders, you need strategies to help you enjoy the confidence and thrill of riding the wave of rapid change. For more on Donna, check out her website, GameChangerThinking.com. Then join the conversation and sharpen up your wits on Wise Up Radio with Donna Kimbrand, Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, here on the Rockstar Radio Network.
Link Technologies, Inc. is a world-renowned microtech consulting, support, and training company. We specialize in network design and configuration of complex networks, both wired and wireless. This includes networks for ISPs, enterprise, and government organizations. Our many engineers are well-versed in several platforms aside from microtech, including Cisco, Juniper, Foundry, Asterisk, and Windows. LTI offers dedicated hosting services for web, email, billing, and other servers. We stock a number of hardware products as well, including wireless radios, antennas, cable, mounting hardware, and complete pre-configured systems shipped, plug, and play for seamless rollouts. We have converted hundreds of flat bridge networks into redundant, fully routed networks with multi-homed BGP and OSPF. If you are setting up a new network or need help bringing your existing network up to speed, let Link Technologies Inc. get you on the right track.
Welcome back to Lessons in Joyful Living, teaching you how to truly stand in a place of peace, joy, and abundance. And know that is calling for each and every one of us. This is what drives Kimberly to live what she teaches and share her success and passion for helping others to help themselves. So let's get back to the show. It's Lessons in Joyful Living on the Rockstar Radio Network. And here again is your host, Kimberly Rinaldi.
Good morning and welcome back. And this morning we're joined by Candace George Conradi, who is a best-selling author known for her provocatively insightful prose about life. Her readers are impressed with her innate kindness, generosity, and wisdom, and her ability to find her work timeless. Her eclectic books speak to the heart of all of age, offering beautiful reminders of humankind's innate power and ability to live a life of value, purpose, and beauty according to each person's unique life design. And really, that thread of ownership was what I found in the books that I've read from her. So welcome back, Miss Candace. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be on your show, Kimberly.
Well, thank you for joining us. So we were talking about how there is this assumption that there is advantage just because there is success. And you made me think about it, and I wanted to mention it before we got any further in this. One of the things, and I'm a real advocate for this, I would much rather, Bill Gates has been labeled the richest man on the face of the earth like 15 out of the last 18 years. That's great. He had an idea. He was primed to be in the right place at the right time. But then I look at Donald Trump, who has rebuilt twice. He's like absolutely tanked and rebuilt twice. I would rather learn from Donald Trump. Not that there isn't anything to learn from Bill Gates, but Donald Trump has a proven track record because he's been able to redo it. Could Bill Gates redo it again? Don't know. Maybe, possibly. He'll never have to know. But that's just it. I want to learn from the person who had the challenges, who really had to pick apart their path to make it. So that's my take on it. So we were talking about that, the belief that there's advantage when somebody is successful. How do you respond to that?
Well, Walt Disney went bankrupt a number of times.
Like 6, wasn't it? It was some number that when I heard
into the world.
Yeah.
And it's really about believing in what you're doing. And it's so funny because I'm not sure that Bill Gates didn't have failures. I just think that he focused, like Edison used to say, well, he failed, 900 times before he discovered the light bulb. And he said, no, I found 900 ways it didn't work.
Right.
I think that failure, we assume that successful people don't fail. And I think that successful people do fail because they're out there willing to risk it. And it's how they see themselves. And it goes back to what we're talking about, Kimberly, about that innate sense of value and that sense of purpose that we all have, that is ever present with us. But it's trusting that purpose and trusting that we have what it takes to step into that purpose, and that there are no guarantees, but every day, if you do it, the idea of the overnight success, our son is an actor in New York, and so many actors will say, my overnight success was a 10-year journey.
Oh, yeah. Or more,
or more, and it's really having that feeling inside of us that we have what it takes, that we can overcome sexual abuse, drug addiction, limitations, a limited family experience. It all has to do with our ability to trust ourselves and be able to trust ourselves more than we trust what life has presented to us.
And that comes from, I mean, for me, and I'll address a deeper spiritual point, that comes from, again, this is my experience, and I never tell anyone how to have their own experience. I learned that at a young age. But this comes from my experience. That comes from understanding that this human experience is such a small part of who and what we truly are, that there is so much more to us. And right now I'm actually training to be a Course in Miracles instructor, which just really, solidifies everything that I have innately believed, everything that I have been a part of for the last 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your inspiration? What was the thing that made you realize the connection was so much greater?
Well, you know, from one of the things, my mother was pretty mystical for as unique as she was as an individual. We did, when I was 8 years old, we were doing automatic handwriting together, and she entered me into the world of the mystical side of life very young. So it's nothing I ever doubted. And it didn't matter what church I was in. I could walk in if I could sit down and I could feel the energy of the spiritual message that was being given. So I've always had, I feel so blessed in this, I've always had that sense that I was greater. I just didn't know how to translate it into the world. I thought it was a part of myself that I couldn't actually express in a worldly way.
Yeah, that you knew it, but nobody else would ever see it.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I've discovered is that with people ask me about, for instance, the Gentle Pine's purpose, and I said, well, the story told itself to me. I just kind of transcribed it. I woke up one morning, and I had an American Indian moment with this Christmas tree in 2010, and woke up one morning and had this story, and this tree was remarkable. I mean, it was, you can read about it. I think I have it up on my website. That's 30 days. It didn't drop a needle. I mean, it smelled beautifully. It filled our house, and I had a moment with it when we bought it. And then, so I woke up and I wrote the story, and then I got the story out on paper, and I read it to my husband, and I looked up, and he was crying. And I went, I guess I've touched something. Then there's something really important here. And then I was waking up to a radio show, and they were interviewing this 14-year-old boy, and my guides, my angels, whatever, I'm not sure how other people define it, said, get up and write this name down because he's your artist. And I started to go back to sleep, and they woke me up again. And said, get up and write this name down. So, I know there's more to life and there's more available to us in life if we just allow ourselves to receive it. And then we get to be the translator of that incredibly divine, eternal presence that's part of us.
Well, and that's what, and I love that you said the book was there. It unfolded, it unveiled, it basically, you wrote it down. It was there for you. So many of the authors that I interview, that is the truth of it. The energy of what their creative outlet is was already there, and my belief is we had a hand in creating what we're here for. Why wouldn't we have those successes ready for us? We just have to get quiet. We just have to find that place within us and start listening. And if you hadn't listened, and I'm sitting here, I have Gentle Pine's Purpose in front of me because the story about you have he's a baby. He's just, seriously, I own an art gallery, and when I realized how young your artist was, he's channeling some great energy, and he's brought in an artistic talent that's being expressed at this age that, there is only greatness in his future for this.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the fact that you listened. Talented. Yeah, the fact that you listened, where a lot of people would have gone, oh, come on. Yeah, that's that's wishful thinking. Those are the voices. A lot of people would write it off, and I love that you ascribed it to your angels, your guides. The way I describe it to people is the angels and guides are out there, and there is an idea that is ready to be birthed, and they may whisper it to 10,000 people. Of those 10,000 people, 1,000 might hear it. Of those 1,000 people, 10 might take it seriously and not write it off to, last night's curry and a bad dream. Of those 10, 1 might act on it. Do you want to be the one that acts on it?
Oh, that's beautiful. I really love that.
Because it really is. That is how it has unfolded for me, and that's why so many ideas just all seem to come to fruition at the right time for the right people. But do you want to be the one to act on it? And if you've been guided by an angel, who are you to argue with an angel? That's where I am at this point in my life. Because ultimately, they win. We have free will, but they really do. They're here to guide us. So I love that you listened. I love that you're the one that acted on it. And I love that your illustrator for The Gentle Pine's Purpose is Dylan Martin, who was how old when he did this?
He was 14 when he did it.
At 14.
He's a remarkable artist.
Yeah, at 14, I'm thinking of the nonsense I was getting into. I'm thinking, wow, this young man has just a beautiful hand and expression of color and expression of balance and perspective. He's very, very good.
It was a journey for us to do it together. It was very fun.
Wow. So less than a minute, going into our next break, I want to make sure when we come back we talk a little bit more about some of, the other 2 books that I happen to have sitting in front of me, The Soul Sitter's Handbook and Sweet Tweets. So join us back after the break. We're speaking with Candace George Canradi. She's an advocate for self-reliance. She founded Women with Voice in 2010. We'll talk more about that. She'll give you directions on how to reach her and reach out to her. If you haven't already joined me and you're in the U.S. or Canada, you can text LIJL for Lessons in Joyful Living to 22828, and you will also receive a copy of my Deeper Meditation MP3. You'll be signed up for my VIP newsletter. You'll find out where I am, what I'm doing, when I'm doing it. We'd love to have you join us then. Meanwhile, join us back after the break.
Having overcome tremendous obstacles herself, she believes happiness is overrated. She calls upon you to live joyfully. This is Lessons in Joyful Living, and Kimberly will be right back after these on the Rockstar Radio Network. Are you happy with your life? Satisfied with the direction you're taking? More importantly, are you content with the results you're seeing? Then Success Profiles Radio is the program for you. Join host Brian K. Wright as he talks to experts in many areas relating to life success, including expertise in leadership, business, relationships, careers, networking, health, overcoming adversity, and much more. Each week, we'll explore different aspects of success and how to apply them to your life. For more on Brian and the show, check out his website, briankwright.com. Each week is a dose of inspiration. So many people live their lives wanting more than they currently have. Success Profiles Radio is a show that will clearly demonstrate the principle, if I can do it, you can do it. So don't miss this opportunity to take control of your life and your results. Success Profiles Radio with Brian K. Wright, Mondays at 5 p.m. Central on the Rockstar Radio Network. Get ready for Smart Health with your host, Dr. Glenn Mia. Friday afternoons at 2 p.m. Central on the Rockstar Radio Network. Smart Health is a 1-hour program dedicated to discussions, interviews, and news of the ever-changing world of medicine. Information leads to smart choices, and smart choices lead to a healthier lifestyle. That's the quote of host and broadcast journalist Dr. Glenn Mia, MD. This magazine-style radio show is a fast-paced program bringing together medical experts, authors, and patients to examine what works and what doesn't in staying healthy. Dr. Glenn Mia is a board-certified physician in pediatrics and internal medicine. His philosophy to wellness starts with an investment. He says proper nutrition, rest, and exercise are the best personal investments to maintaining good health. So join us for Smart Health with Dr. Glenn Mia. Fridays at 2 p.m. Central on the Rockstar Radio Network. Welcome back to Lessons in Joyful Living, teaching you how to truly stand in a place of peace, joy, and abundance. And know that is calling for each and every one of us. This is what drives Kimberly to live what she teaches and share her success and passion for helping others to help themselves. So let's get back to the show. It's Lessons in Joyful Living on the Rockstar Radio Network. And here again is your host, Kimberly Rinaldi.
Good morning and welcome back. And this morning we're speaking with Candace Conradi, author and coach and advocate for self-reliance. So welcome back, Candace.
Thank you.
You have your blog and community, Women with a Voice, that you founded. Before we talk more about the books, I want to kind of touch on that. What is the goal with that?
Well, I think it started out with me having the courage to put my writing out there again, because I hadn't been writing for a while when I started the blog, and I wanted to use my voice in a positive way, and encourage other women to do it. And then as it developed, as all things do, I continued to study and learn, and I had heard that the Dalai Lama was quoted as saying, "The world's going to be healed by the Western woman."
Mm-hmm.
And I thought a lot about that, and I realized how women tend to hold back their voice, and we use it to emote, to express emotion, or we use it to kind of get our way through things and do that. But when it comes to our power, we tend to hold back a lot. And so part of my goal with Women with a Voice, and I'm not really sure, I think that's even changing now and morphing, but my intention with that is to encourage how to use your voice responsibly. I think we can use our voice and be as a clanging cymbal, or we can actually use our voice from this really wise perspective of our life experiences and our insights, and learn how to communicate our wants and our needs in a very positive way. But I think we also take with that compassion into the world and understanding and information for nurturing life that is so critical to the success of humanity. And freeing the women in the Middle East, for instance, or women anywhere in the world that are suppressed, because we really need to have both genders in equal strength and leadership in our world. And that has not been that way for maybe ever. I'm not sure if it ever was.
Yeah. And one of the things, and I love that you address the voice and the equality, but one of the things, and a quote from one of our other Togi hosts in her intro and her radio commercial spots, Learn and Play with Mrs. A, she talks about children being 20% of the population, but 100% of our future.
Mm-hmm.
And who's responsible for child care? Who's responsible for child rearing? Who's responsible, whether you're working outside the home or not, it's traditionally the role of the woman. That is where the change comes from.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be our generation. It may be the generations that we raise up.
Oh, we have
that.
such a we have such a responsibility as women to help young girls understand their value goes far beyond what they're wearing, what label they're wearing, what makeup they have, what purse they carry, how much sexuality they display, and really help women set the standards, set the bar that says, I am more than what you see, and this is, I'm not going to allow you to step into my world and take from me what is mine, So, and I'm talking about, we live in a very nice community in Southern California, but I see it all over with young girls and misusing their value and underestimating where their value really is and what they have to give to the world. So we have a responsibility as being older, more experienced women to help them find their way.
Right. We had a really good example of that with the Miley Cyrus brouhaha a few months ago. And I realized there was some marketing behind that, and there's an old saying, there is no such thing as bad press. All of it is good. And yeah, maybe that was her intention, but the bottom line is it sends a message, and the bigger message is, especially young girls, let them have their childhood, let them have their innocence, because it gets too real too soon anyhow.
Well, and they put themselves in harm's way. I think it ends up putting people on and everybody, we all have our right path, right, Kimberly?
Right.
And we all are where we're supposed to be for our soul's journey, and I totally get that. But I think that awareness is such an important piece, and as the young girls, I have young granddaughters, so I certainly hope to be an influence in their life that says you're more than these things. It doesn't mean you can't have nice clothes, and it doesn't mean you can't be comfortable with your sexuality. I think that's really important, but I think it has to do with valuing it and honoring it, and and that has a lot to do with my why I created Women with a Voice.
Well, and being old enough and mature enough to really understand what it is. It isn't just chemistry. There is more to it. I remember my niece is 16 and a half, and she was probably 12, 5'7", gorgeous legs up to here, looked like she was 17. And I had her for a week, and we were actually down in the San Diego area for summer, and she literally had just turned 12, or was just going to turn 12. It was right before she turned 12, so 11, if you will. And when she unpacked and I saw the clothing she brought, I was like, "Oh, we're going shopping." And she looked at me and rolled her eyes, and I said, "No," and pardon my language, and this, I'm very blunt in my family. My family just, they roll their eyes at me. I'm like, "No, sweetie, the horse shorts are not going to be worn with your Auntie Kimberly." She rolled her eyes, and she's like, "Mommy bought them." I'm like, "Great, you can wear them around Mommy, and Mommy can be the one to worry about what other people are thinking. I don't want to." And we literally, that and the at the time, 5-year-old had packed 9 pairs of pajamas. We had to go shopping anyhow. I'm like, "Who let you pack, kid? You have no clothes. You have 9 pairs of pajamas." But yeah,
I want to be comfy.
Yeah, and she's like, and normally, and I'll tell a little secret here, when we go stay in hotels and it's just a weekend, we'll hole up and do movies and, room service, so we don't usually leave the hotel. It's like, no, we're planning on doing stuff this trip. You need clothes, kid.
Oh,
yeah.
You just want to be stylish in the hotel room, that's all.
Exactly. So, but yeah, I remember that was the first time I had them both for a week. One was 5, the other was going on 12, looked like a 17-year-old. And I was exhausted when I gave them back. And I told my sister and brother-in-law, I'm like, I don't know how you do it. And, and we talked about the shorts, and my brother-in-law was laughing, and he said, "You went to a beach community. The girls were going to wear bathing suits. Did that ever cross your mind?" Well, I figured cover up some big beach towels. I didn't know what to think. But yeah,
the problem with an 11-year-old dressing provocatively is that it places them in harm's way for people that, it's a dangerous world,
Yeah, and at the time, my sister said, "You don't understand. I can't find board shorts for her at her age."
Yeah.
And then being so tall and leggy, she's like, even regular shorts are short shorts on her. She's like, and I'm like, get a damn sewing machine and make her clothes then, with high necklines and down to the ankles.
I think we're digressing.
Yeah. But yeah, it just, I look at that and I think, wow, it has to be hard raising a child, especially a young lady, and instilling all the right values when everything outside of the home potentially, and the things we let in the home, like magazines, television, newspapers, advocate something very different.
Yeah, I was driving home. I took our dog in for grooming this morning, and there was an NPR radio show on that only 8% of the population, and this is, I'm going to tie this in, Kimberly, sounds like I'm going on a sidetrack here. Only 8% of the population that are in lower middle class to poverty states ever rise out of that in the United States. And I just think it has to do with how we see ourselves and where we see our value and our ability to really feel like we have a place in the world, and I think it's really hard when we're comparing and we're trying to fit into society, which a lot of the girls are doing, and it's really our job to just help them understand innately that they are more than that, and that we do leave a message. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to turn off my call waiting.
Oh, that's okay. Keep going.
We do send out a message through our behavior to the world, and the world does interpret our behavior first.
Right.
There's a great saying, "Who you are speaks so loudly, I cannot hear what you say," and I cannot remember who said that.
And that is one of my favorites. It's true, because you can say it all you want, but it's your behavior that is read. We're about a minute out from our next break, and I think this is a good segue to Sweet Tweets. I really think that is a wonderful book. When we come back, we're going to talk about how you came to it and what the purpose is, how it can help both moms and young ladies and just about anybody who reads it. So join us back after the break. We're speaking with Candace Conradi. We're talking about her books. We're talking about her programs, Women with a Voice, her blog and Facebook community, and we're talking about value and where you place your value. She had mentioned that 8% of reduced income, poverty level people never get out of that because of what they see themselves as. And I want to know, what do you see yourself as? Start to think about it, and don't you believe that you can be better than where you came from? Join us back when we come back from the break. We're speaking with Candace Conradi. We're talking about how you can find your lesson in joyful living too.
Having overcome tremendous obstacles herself, she believes happiness is overrated. She calls upon you to live joyfully. This is Lessons in Joyful Living, and Kimberly will be right back after these on the Rockstar Radio Network. In today's business world, you have to be LinkedIn. LinkedIn, it's a great tool. And Carol McManus is the LinkedIn Lady. Join us for the LinkedIn Lady Show every weekday afternoon at 3 p.m. Central on the Rockstar Radio Network. Carol is here to show you and your business how every social media site has a specific demographic, personality, and purpose that can benefit you. In each show, the LinkedIn Lady will have a variety of guests, such as business owners who will showcase their businesses and talk about how they're using social media to stay in touch with not only customers, but to attract new relationships that become customers. Other guests will be experts in social media who will speak to the use of Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google, Plaxo, Squidoo, and of course, LinkedIn. For more on Carol and the show, check out her website, LinkedInLady.com. Join us for the LinkedIn Lady Show with your host, Carol McManus, every weekday afternoon at 3 p.m. Central on the Rockstar Radio Network. Tune in to DC Live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central on the Rockstar Radio Network for a fun and entertaining look into the music industry with your host, producer, songwriter, and musician, Don Cromwell. DC Live will feature interviews and live performances with an emphasis on connecting you, the fan, with the artist. Guests will include both established and new artists, as well as behind-the-scenes professionals. There'll also be live in-studio and phone interviews, plus music associated with featured artists, and live performances on a regular basis, and a special segment of each show devoted to unknown musicians and bands. For more on Don, check out his website, DonCromwellMusic.com. Ever wonder how the music business really works? What happens in a studio? And what goes into making a hit record? Then be here for the interviews, insights, and live performances. It's DC Live. Hosted by producer, songwriter, and musician Don Cromwell. Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Central on the Rockstar Radio Network. Welcome back to Lessons in Joyful Living, teaching you how to truly stand in a place of peace, joy, and abundance. And know that is calling for each and every one of us. This is what drives Kimberly to live what she teaches and share her success and passion for helping others to help themselves. So let's get back to the show. It's Lessons in Joyful Living on the Rockstar Radio Network. And here again is your host, Kimberly Rinaldi.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining us today. And today we have Candace George Conradi, best-selling and influential author, joining us and discussing 3 of her books as well as her program, Women with a Voice, which is a blog and Facebook community where she is helping women realize their full potential. So welcome back, Miss Candace.
Thank you very much. It's so nice to be here.
Thank you for joining us. So before we were going into the break, I mentioned sweet tweets, and I really think there is some real value to helping people see their value, and that's what coaching is so much about, because I really believe 2 things. One of them is you can be better than where you've come from. You can be better than your experiences, and it is a choice. And the second is everything we need already exists within us. These things are already inherently a part of us. We just need to be reminded. So Sweet Tweets, 140 characters of wisdom. Tell me how you came to that and what you used to put this together, because it's the sweetest little book.
Well, and to promote my blog, I was encouraged to get on social media, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would write the blogs, and then I'd take the blogs, and I would just write short little descriptors on what I was trying to say in the blog. And I did this for a period of about 3 years, and so I had a huge catalog of tweets
mm-hmm.
that were in my account, and my editor actually said, why don't we just pull them all and create a little book out of it? So she went in and she pulled them. We had 25 pages of tweets, and we boiled it down to, by the time we finished, I had about, took out duplicates and stuff we didn't need and ones that weren't as good as others. Anyway, we ended up with about 12 pages. And then we formulated it into subject and put it into this little book. And the idea for the book is, my intention when I wrote it was to provide just little thought-provoking ideas that people could use to just meditate on or write about or stimulate creativity or thought or take them deeper into their own process. And there's pages in there to have little journaling where people can write. And I, in the front of the book, I write, this should be tea stained, coffee stained, written in. Pages should be dog-eared.
Yeah.
It's meant to be used. So that's what it ended up being. I really love writing tweets, actually. I think it's a really powerful way to get a point across without sounding didactic or lectury,
Yeah.
Is that a word? Is lectury
yes,
a
and
word?
lectury, I like it. But you know what? It teaches you how to really concisely communicate what it is that you're after. You've only got 140 characters. For those of you who haven't gone into the world of Twitter, I have an abnormal relationship with the semicolon, is what my editor tells me. It's actually an unhealthy. What she says is I have an unhealthy relationship with a semicolon.
I use it a lot too. So.
That's how I talk. Just listen to me. It really is. So going into Twitter for me, that 140 characters, I'll write stuff and look, and I'm like, oh, good, 22 characters over. Let's start pulling stuff out.
It's such a discipline for writers. For those of you out there that are writing, it is an amazing, I'm teaching a writing class right now, and we had a whole class on writing tweets because it actually disciplines you to bring your thought process into clarity. It's an amazing, amazing process. But I was told that you need to keep it even below 140.
Yes,
to get them
120.
retweeted.
So, yep.
Yeah, 120, right? So you have to be pretty tight on your thought. But I really do enjoy Twitter. I think it, my little book has everything from parenting to just self-reflection to, I have a great Twitter story I'd love to share.
Oh, please.
And people, don't realize the power of social media, but this is the power of what can happen. So I had a young man follow me and wrote glowing recommendations for people to come over to my tweets. So I went in to look at his site, and he had a very unsavory call line on it. In Twitter, you have to have, mine is at Candy Lee, and his was at F, blah, 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 Christian, right?
Mm.
And so I'm reading his tweets, but his tweets are like, you don't have to be defined by where you come from. You have everything you need to succeed. His tweets were beautiful. So I direct messaged him. I followed him. I decided to follow him, and I direct messaged him, and I said, I think your message is incredibly powerful. It might be better received with a different call. And he wrote back to me, and he said, well, it's how my peers talk, and I'm trying to reach my peer group. And I said, then, do what you need to do. Follow your heart, listen to what.
Yeah.
So a couple months later, I get another message from a similar message about glowing recommendations for my tweets, and he comes. It turns out it was Christian, and he took my recommendation, and we started an email exchange, and the email exchange was, I really feel like my life has a meaning, and I came here to do something really important. And so
Beautiful.
Don't ever think that little things you do will not impact other people in a really positive or negative way.
Right.
Our presence in the world really does influence. And from something as little as 120 character entries, I made this incredibly meaningful connection and entered a mentoring relationship with a young man that wants to make a difference in the world. And I have a relationship with someone in Egypt. We write back and forth now, and it's been pretty incredible. A woman in Egypt. I will be very specific here.
Yeah. You know what? I love social media, and I've had an international client base for 10 or more years now. But social media has made it so much more accessible. And for anybody who's listening, whether you're an author or a coach or whatever, if you're not utilizing social media, you're really missing an opportunity to connect with your tribe and really make a difference on a huger scale, if you will. So we are actually into our last segment. It goes so darn quickly.
It sure does.
I know. I definitely want to have you back. There's a lot more for us to talk about, but the one thing that I wanted to mention before we start wrapping is in Sweet Tweets, you've got the little, you were talking about for journaling, the Sweet Tweets to myself. I really recommend people get this and use it as a workbook to help them through whatever it is that they're working through. Because it is so important to have those affirmations and to have those moments of gratitude and, really start focusing your attention where it is that you want it. So that being said, Sweet Tweets, 140 Characters of Wisdom, the Soul Sitter's Handbook, which we didn't get a chance to talk about, and one of the reasons I want to have you back, and Gentle Pine's Purpose. Those are some great, great reading. They're not huge. They're, sit down, enjoy them in an afternoon. Sweet Tweets, as Candace said, should have coffee stains and dog ears and side notes and, all kinds of personalizations. So, Miss Candace, how do people reach you? how do they find your books? How do they get in touch with you?
All my books are on Amazon, so you can type in my name and they'll come up in Amazon.com. My website is my name, Candace, Candace, Conradi, CONRADI.com, and they can reach me at my name at gmail.com.
Perfect. So you're working in a venue where you are being an inspiration to so many people. Who's your biggest inspiration?
Oh, boy. There's been so many people that have changed my life. I think the spiritual masters in the world, obviously Jesus Christ was incredibly, has impacted my life since I was a very, very little girl. I've studied Yogananda's work. I've studied J. Krishnamurti. Obviously, current day leaders like Eckhart Tolle had a huge impact on my life and continues to have a huge impact in my life. Chopra, Dyer is very fun. Wayne Dyer is always fun. Oprah. I think that Mark Nepo, I think. Yeah. There's so many avenues now that give people permission to change their mind about who they are and to really see that divinity that's deep within them that is transformational for their life in a way that the miracle is within us, and it's our ability to listen to that really quiet whisper. And so whoever is going to inspire you to do that, I would say tune them in and then tune in and listen to your voice that is underneath the deeper voice.
And then share it. Go out there and share it. Less than a minute, so I want to thank you again for joining us today.
It's been my honor. Oh, my gosh. It's been so fun. Kimberly, I'd love to come back.
I will definitely have you back then. I want to thank you all for listening and joining us as well. Join us on Lessons in Joyful Living Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. If you are not able to make it live, by all means, find us on iTunes and sign up to join us at one of our live events. You can find out where I am and what I'm doing by going to KimberlyRinaldi.com, signing up for the VIP newsletter, and you will get a copy of my Deeper Meditation MP3. It's about 19 minutes long and put together with Reiki healing energy, a beautiful way to get connected with your own energetic abilities. Go out and do good things for you. Don't forget to share your lessons in joyful living with other people. We'll see you back again tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of Lessons in Joyful Living with Kimberly Rinaldi here on the Rockstar Radio Network.